Hey guys, happy Monday here with Melissa again. And this week we're talking about something that likely you've started to think about because I feel like everyone starts talking about cold and flu season. We hit September, October. But you know, there's one approach, which is supplements and things you can do physically, which is important. But we also want to talk about like what can you do for your central nervous system to help prepare you? Because I find for me, it's not when I get exposed to things, it's if I'm stressed out. That's typically when I end up catching something. So after
Totally.
learning that, thinking about what are some things you can do to help with that. And obviously Melissa's going to come in with some good tips around that too. But we also want to give you some functional, like tangible things that you
hmm
certainly can do to support your physical immunity, because that is part of the puzzle, right, Melissa? You can't have, you're not supporting yourself, then you can do some of these other things, and it's not necessarily, they've got to work hand in hand, I think.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. I love this because
I
like
can't hear that.
around here, so many people have gotten something. Um, and when I had it, it was low grade for 2 weeks. Like, I haven't been like truly sick, and I don't even know if that counts, but just feeling, you know,
Yeah.
like weighted down and just tired and just, nothing significant was, I wasn't running a fever, all this stuff. But a lot of other folks around here, I mean, they got hit hard and off work for 2 weeks, some of them 3 weeks. It was a big one. So how do we lean in and really support our immune systems? And I love that you brought in the central nervous system. That is so key.
Well, I think there's two pieces, right? Like even I was, a little delayed getting on with you because I was sitting outside and getting just some like authentic vitamin D because we've had a lot
Mhm.
of rain around here. And
Yep.
I bring my dogs out and make sure my dogs are also getting that same exposure because it's
Mhm.
important for them and I want to keep their immune systems
Yep.
healthy. So, we were outside for a bit getting that. So I think that's a key thing. And I know there's a lot of research around getting out there earlier in the morning if you can. Um,
Mhm.
I know when I bring them out in the morning, we all get a little bit too. Um, Monday's my yoga day, but if I can get a walk in, that's a great way to start the day. Um,
Mhm.
and walking's really good for your central nervous system, right? Like it's a calming, it's an anti-inflammatory exercise. So I remember when I was having a lot of adrenal stuff, you know, my naturopath MD was like, do not run, do not go running. Because running is really inflammatory, you guys. So walking is really good for you. And honestly, tracking your steps, like I have a lot of friends who are fitness professionals and like bodybuilding pros, and all the coaches have shifted to rather than like this crazy cardio, just walking, just getting steps
Mhm.
in. And so I think that says a lot, right, about the value of just walking. So if you're like, well, I need to get my work in and, go for a walk, that's good for all the things. Um, and then, breathing. I know that sounds very,
Mhm.
well, duh, we breathe all day, but we breathe really shallow, right? And I think one of the first things I often work on with clients is just taking some deep breaths, you know. And if you can even do that for 2 to 3 minutes, you know,
Yep.
and just actively be doing that makes a huge difference. A little meditation if you can, that's a big piece. And then just really trying to be mindful of how we're reacting to things, right? Like
Mhm.
there's there's difficult things that happen. That's a reality. Um, I know one of the things I've had to heavily work on in my life is like, how am I responding to these challenging things?
Mhm.
It doesn't always have to be hitting the panic button, which again can definitely be like a new pattern for folks, myself included,
Mhm.
right? But you know, the more you kind of let yourself amp up and then crash, like obviously it doesn't help. So it's really like, you know, is this a big deal? Well, do I have a solution or someone who can help me find one? Um, you know, it's a big piece of how we can keep ourselves from kind of going there.
Yeah. Yeah. those are huge. I love that you were talking about walking, because the other piece of, I mean, that really helps calm the body, period. But when we think about our immune system and how to really, keep it working really, really well, we need to think about our lymph system and the endocrine system that is just under the skin, because literally that system is one of our best detox systems, like for our body to be able to clear and be constantly running at top level. That system does not have a pump like we have a heart to pump our blood through our blood vessels. That doesn't have a pump. The pump is us moving and making that happen. So walking is so, so good for that. And especially if you have a tendency to get sick in the fall or in the spring, really thinking about moving your body and being really, really consistent with that. And if that, add on top of that, if you love to do baths, if you can do an Epsom salt bath, put a little Epsom salts in your water, maybe a little apple cider vinegar, that can really help your body clear. And especially if you're starting to get sick and you're like, I don't have time to get sick. Walking, movement, a detox bath, using some apple cider vinegar, about a teaspoon to a tablespoon in 8 ounces of water, drinking that back every day, that can really just gently support your immune system. Yeah, those were just some things I was thinking about when you were talking about walking. I'm like,
Yeah.
we need
Yeah.
that.
Yes. Yeah. And I know like it's hard to find a good lymphatic drainage person. I was fortunate to find one, but it took a while to find one who were real good at it. But like Melissa said, moving, and then there's definitely things like I'm having, like, we have this great new mushroom powder, so I put that in my tea. That's really good for helping. And then if you don't have access to sunshine, getting your vitamin D with your K2, right? So that way you can,
Yep.
but even when it's cold out, even if you just get outside and get it on your face a little bit, right?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah,
You can
just
actually
making
test
sure.
that. You can
What's that?
test that, your vitamin D. When you have blood work, you can request a vitamin D test and let you know where your actual vitamin D levels are. For a healthy adult, those vitamin D levels need to be above 50. If they're right around 60 or higher, awesome. If you have like a chronic illness or an autoimmune condition, I suggest 70. If you can get to 80, sweet. But a lot of times we don't even think about that. And if you are supplementing with vitamin D and have been for quite some time and your vitamin D levels are still quite low, we need to understand why your body is not being able to uptake that. And if you're supplementing for vitamin D using a liquid that goes under the tongue, is probably going to, well, it is going to be the best because it absorbs right into the bloodstream. You can almost see that when I open my mouth.
That's the one we have, is a sublingual. People are like, I don't understand, but I'm like, it's so good.
Got to go right here.
Yeah.
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 So just some thoughts about vitamin D.
Yeah, which is huge. And trying to make sure you get enough sleep, right?
Oh, that's huge.
It's a big one. And if I'm sure you can speak to, what are your thoughts on magnesium silks, Melissa? I just got one recently that I love from a company that a friend helped spearhead, but it is lovely. It's got like some seaweed and stuff in it too, which is nice. But I know many of us are magnesium low, and I know that can make a big difference in sleep quality.
Yes. So magnesium is really, really helpful for all the systems, but especially for sleep and for making sure that you're able to have a bowel movement at least once a day. But magnesium depends on what you want to use it for. There are different forms that can be helpful for different, main processes in the body, like magnesium citrate. That's amazing for helping move the bowel, but also really for helping the muscles expand and contract, not just the ones that you're looking at right now in my hands, but also like your lungs and your heart and the big muscles in the body. If we've got issues with, the heart muscle in particular, we can use taurine, magnesium taurine, or Trimag, something like that. Yeah, so there are different types of magnesium that we can bring in that can target different systems in the body to really support. But magnesium is huge. You can also test that in your blood work. You can ask for a magnesium, a serum magnesium test. I highly recommend that. And we like to be in the upper third of that reference range. Yeah.
Perfect.
Love it.
Anything else, Melissa, you think?
I don't think so. I think the biggest thing is really paying attention to your habits. And I love how you kind of went into, like, what are you doing with your mind?
Yeah,
Mindfulness. Are
practicing
you
gratitude
reacting
to
life?
you guys, which might seem like it has nothing to do with it, but doing a little gratitude list every day. I prescribe that to all my clients, but I've been doing it for over a decade, and it does help because,
Huge.
even if you're feeling a little under weather, it's a good reminder to write down, like, my normal state is health, right? It's not sickness. So, but I think helping to reframe that makes a big difference too.
Yeah. Yeah. And just kind of a tack on to the end here, just talking quickly about sugar. So sugar flatlines your immune system as soon as it comes in. And think about this for your kids and Halloween coming up and all of that. Literally, sugar flatlines your immune system for up to 6 hours. It can be longer than that if your body is not able to process it well. So thinking about that for your kiddos, sugar on the brain is just like, it is so excitatory and inflammatory. Like right now, thinking about your kiddos, how can you really help your kiddos be well? No sugar, no sugar, no sugar. There are
And it
other
feeds all
ways
the
to
bad
sweetness the
bacteria,
kiddos.
right?
Pardon?
And it feeds all the bad bacteria too.
Yeah. Yeah. So
And
just some tips to keep you well.
Yeah, absolutely, you guys. So as always, we're available if you have questions for us, and we're happy to help. Please reach out, but we hope these are some good tangible tips to help keep you guys healthy this season. And share. We'd love to hear your input.
Love it. Take care, guys.